I'm Laura Beck, and this is the Outlet Unplugged presents 10 Questions with comedian Shelley Lee. Shelley is one of our comics that will be performing at Hava Java on August 10th, and the show starts at 7 p.m. Now, the first time I ever saw Shelley perform was at Tickle Me tryouts at Bethlehem Brew Works, and I thought that her stage performance had a lot of confidence, and she seemed very comfortable. And my first question to you would be, did that confidence, was it always there? And or was it something that you felt came with time?
Well, when I've been in theater a very long time. I've done a lot of stage performances, and I've done a few film things, and stand-up is a different monster in itself. You're up there just by yourself, and you're basically just monologuing to the audience. Mm-hmm. And I didn't always have that kind of confidence with just being me on stage. I would have much preferred being a character or part of an improv troupe where it was just me, not necessarily being a character, but I was working with other people. And so this was a really big step for me, but I found that in the past year I had grown a lot more confidence on stage just being myself, and as the more I started doing stand-up, the more that became just like second nature to me.
That's great. I couldn't imagine, trying to leave yourself kind of like wide open to the audience and kind of like, giving birth to yourself, yeah. Like day in, day out.
Oh, definitely. And the thing of it is, too, like, with stand-up, like, a lot of the jokes are experiences that you have in your daily life. So you're basically letting people know of all the weird and crazy things that happen to you, and embarrassing things. So, yeah, you're right. It does really kind of almost have you just vulnerable out there, putting yourself out there. But there's also kind of something about that, too, that the audience can relate to. Because here you are doing something that a lot of people would rather die than do. That's like the #1 phobia,
mm-hmm.
Public speaking. Mm-hmm. And you're not only are you doing that in front of people, but you're sharing all your like intimate details and things. So I think there's kind of almost a camaraderie there with you in the audience where they kind of get that you're going to be telling them things that are pretty hard to do, but you're up there and you're doing it. So I think that kind of like gives you like an edge, you know.
Mm-hmm. And also, I guess, for the audience, there's that sense of respect, for the comedian. But then again, I think, sometimes there are hecklers, and, those are the ones that I'm sure that you just want to shoot in the head and be like, why don't you come up here and do this?
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, I haven't, believe it or not, I mean, not that I've been in for, I've been in for years or anything. I've only been doing it for about, I want to say like 8 months now. A little less than that, and I haven't really had any bad hecklers yet, and I think though it's because like a lot of the times when there are hecklers, I've noticed a connection between hecklers and comedians that kind of like call people out in the audience and kind of like mess with them a lot, and I think the more you kind of do that, the more they feel, oh, okay, it's okay to mess with you back. And if you're just sitting there talking to them like I'm talking to you, and telling you stories and kind of like showing, haha, I'm a dork, like it doesn't intimidate them. So I think that my particular style and set doesn't really bring out the worst in people. In fact, actually, it was interesting because the one gig I had was a stand-up gig in Tamaqua, in a bar out there. Yeah. Everybody laughs just at that, but it was funny because at one point in one of the stories I was telling, this rowdy bar full of like bikers and all these like crazy people, you could hear a pin drop, and I just thought that was interesting. It's like, I guess just the way I told the story and what kind of story it was and stuff, it's like all these people who were heckling other people, they weren't doing that for me, and I just thought that was weird.
That is interesting. Maybe it's just, I guess, like you said, like maybe the style, and because I feel that if a comedian just goes out and just starts messing with the audience right off the bat, because I know I've been to like my first comedy show was, I think, on the boardwalk in Maryland, and there was, a comedian that would kind of like pick someone, and I was like praying, God, please don't, pick me, and that kind of like made me feel like intimidated, like you had said. So.
And some people like feel like they need to defend themselves, and if it's an insult comic, I mean, some people will go there just for that, because that's a special niche of comedy, but most of the time, I think, especially since I'm just starting out, like, there's really no need to pick on anybody, and I only just pick on myself, because that's pretty safe. The only fun I have to make mad is me.
Now, you mentioned that you were an improv actress, and do you feel that being that type of actress has helped your performance on doing stand-up?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Especially just coming up with stuff on the spot. Not to say that a set list isn't well thought out and planned and practiced, but say I forget a joke while I'm up there. Like, I was like, okay, tonight I want to do da-da-da-da. Well, say I forget, like, duh, the middle duh. Then I'm like, how am I going to segue into the next thing? How am I going to stand up here without looking weird? So the improv really helps with that. It also helps with, like, creating tags for jokes where, say, I have, like, it's like, and that's my trip to Bermuda. It's like, and then the tag would be, never going back there again. Like, you're talking, and that part of your brain that's so used to, like, just thinking of the next thing kicks in, and you're able to think of other stuff. Additionally, actually, I found that improv and stand-up work well off of each other. Like, I'm able to use stand-up stuff in improv. There are some times when I'm on stage doing improv, and I'll have a moment where I'll feel almost like I'm doing stand-up where it's just me and the audience, and I think of something additional to say, and I've just noticed that a lot recently, that those two things have really helped each other out. As with all acting things, it's good to have a repertoire and to borrow from different things to keep things interesting for you and your audience, and also, to just really exercise. If you're just specializing in one thing in acting, I don't feel like you're getting, like, the full experience and honing your craft enough. So it's just good to have, like, that tool belt, like that Batman style utility belt that you can just, like, pick stuff off of, and two, you never know what you're gonna like better. So yeah, so I guess that's a long answer to how does that help with the.
Well, that's a great answer, because there's a lot of great comics that have utilized that. I was just thinking, like, Richard Pryor came to mind as far as being a great storyteller, and would also incorporate different characters. And John Leguizamo would have, like, this whole like performance show, one man, stand up, but he would talk about his family and just, like, embrace, like, each family member, and really give, like, a whole new meaning of like having a night out, seeing, a comic. It's like an art form, and like a more elaborate, and I just thought that was a really a fresh of breath of air to see comedians, doing, like pushing the boundaries and doing more than just, doing the quintessential, just, telling their, one-liners or, like, jokes. It's definitely, like, becoming a different animal for each comic, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think it's very cool.
With any art, you can't limit yourself, and you never know what's going to help something else. Like, it's like taking, it's almost like recycling. You're taking one thing that maybe you can't use it for that, but you can use it for something completely new, and that makes you stand out too.
That definitely does make you stand out, and just seeing, like, certain performers or comedians, like, going to that level of just being kind of like mesmerized and, like, really, like, capturing, like, your attention is just amazing. And I know you've mentioned a little bit about your comedic style, but could you describe it a little bit in detail?
I have an overwhelming nerd fetish that I think comes out with my comedy. I have, like, this whole set just on how much I like nerdy guys, and that kind of helped me, I think, when I first started, just like my affinity for like nerds and for like comic books and stuff like that, and just little aspects, I guess, of my personality. If I had to say like my one thing that my whole set encompasses, it's probably like I kind of cover a lot of things, but it's mostly like just guys and dating. And one thing I've found too is I talk about my divorce a lot. I'm 27 and I've already been divorced, and I've been told that that's.
Well, I've been there. We've both been
Yeah.
there.
I'm divorced. So
It's like, hey, we'll have like club meetings. And I found, like, that was a horrible thing that happened. Like, I don't wish it on my worst enemy. And but I found that with using stand-up, I've been able to laugh about it, you know, to find the humor in it. And actually, that was a really important lesson for me, because I learned that I can take something that happened to me that was horrible and turn it around and make it a positive, not make it like totally positive, but like, if I can laugh about it, I can kind of, you know, diminish my fear of it, if that makes sense, you know, like I can kind of overcome it that way, and that did help. And not only that, but actually what happened was, I have this one joke about my divorce, where I say, I feel like when you get divorced, that there should be somebody on the other side waiting for you with a pack of Virginia Slims and a book of small dick jokes. And I told that joke at a gig, and these women came up to me after the show, and they were like, "Oh, we love that joke about divorce, you know, because we were divorced too, and blah, blah, blah. We can really see that." And I didn't think about it when I wrote it, that I would, you know, be relatable to other people who went through the same thing. I just wrote it because it's like, well, that was my experience. But, and not to say I'm like a voice for that topic, but you kind of become that in that moment when they're there listening to you talk about it. And they're like, oh, you know, I see myself in her because she went through the same thing. And vice versa with with me and these women. So you kind of connect with people too, depending on what your set entails and what you notice about the world and what the world does to you. And I thought that part was interesting.
Yeah, like almost like finding like a purpose in the routine, and this like with what you're doing in comedy is like the relatability, and you know, with whatever like pain that you can turn around into like something like positive that gave you like a sense of acceptance with what you went through. You know, you find so many people that, you know, it's like right on, and maybe that's, you know, exactly like the joke they needed to hear at that moment, you know, to get through what they're going through. So it's really cool. Now, I know as an improv actress, you've worked with the improv troupe, the Associated Mess. Now, can you tell me how long you've been a part of it and about that experience?
I've been in the Associated Mess since January. I'm part of the 2013 cast. The experience with that has been, you know, it's been a little rocky at first because we had like half of our troupe leave, and there were new delegations to be had and stuff like that. But other than that, like, it's been good. I like to perform with them and to do short form. Although recently I've learned about myself, if I had to choose between doing improv and doing stand-up, I would rather do stand-up. Because with short form improv, with any improv, you're in a troupe, or at least with at least one other person, and your focus has to be on that person. And you have to be open to what they're giving you, and you have to kind of play off of them, or they play off of you. And there's almost no focus on the audience. You know, they'll laugh and they'll interact with you and suggest things, but when you're doing stand-up, your focus is entirely on the audience. And I like that better. You know, I like the fact that you're pretty much just having a conversation with somebody, and you know, you get to almost feel the collective personality of an audience. And I don't know, I like that a lot more. Because, I mean, with improv, I see these people all the time, and we're friends, and we hang out, or, you know, if I don't see them as much, you know, at least see them at rehearsals and stuff. Every time you're with an audience, you're with, for the most part, like, different people every time. You're always meeting new people. And I really like that, you know, I like that difference. And, not to mention, I'm not really a big rehearsal person, so like the only person you're rehearsing with stand-up is yourself on your own time and stuff like that. And interestingly, a lot of people I've heard who do improv say that stand-up is very self-serving, which, I mean, yeah, in the sense that you're the only person up there getting all the attention, but at the same time, I don't agree with that, because I feel like you're the people you're serving most of the audience. Because if you suck up there and they're not entertained, that can bring you down more than the fact that just you need to, I need to work on my jokes. Like, because these people wanted to be entertained, and you didn't do that for them. And I'm a people pleaser. So if I see, these people aren't laughing, like, I don't think, they suck and I'm awesome, you know, whatever. I think, you know, I'd be disappointed too if I were them. So, but with the mess, the kind of nice thing is you're not doing one thing all the time, you know, I balance it out. Although I think I would prefer to focus on stand-up a little more.
And you don't, like, even, like, if you have a night where maybe your stand-up didn't go over well, do you really take that home, like, where you feel that, you know, I should just give up? Does it ever get to that point where you're just completely feel like we had it with it?
Yeah,
yeah.
It does, because, you know, you don't have to be doing it. You do it because you want to. And I remember when I first moved out here after the divorce, and I was just starting stand-up. The one night, like, it was a normal set, it wasn't like it was a bad set, but I remember going to my car thinking to myself, just, what's the point? Why am I doing this? Like, what's it really matter to anybody? This is, you know, I mean, like, I was just putting everything in my life into question. But then, I was walking my car, and this other car was pulling out, and they kind of stopped. And I'm like, alright, they're just waiting for me to get in my car or whatever. But I was headed towards my door. They still were there. I'm like, alright, this is getting kind of shady. What's going on? Here, it was a couple that was at the open mic. And they rolled down their windows, and they said, "We loved your set."
Oh.
And I thought back, and I recognized them, and they were laughing and having a good time, and I thought to myself, you know, these people came out and had a date night, and they saw me perform, and they enjoyed themselves. It's like, that really took, I took that to heart, you know, that all the places they could have been, they were there, and I was there, and I made it a good time for them. So that actually, you know, brought up my spirits and reminded me why I'm doing it, because I love to entertain people.
Oh, that's great. It's really great to have that type of like affirmation. So, now I understand you're not only, you know, a comedian, an improv actress, you're also a model, and you know, strike a pose. Go on.
Catch him staying somewhere.
Do you ever feel that sometimes, like, you stretch yourself thin a bit?
Sometimes. It depends on what's going on at the time. Like, there are dry spells where, you know, I haven't had a gig or anything for a while. And then there are times when it's really busy and I have, like, one thing after another. Like, this week's been one of those weeks. And I like it when it's busy, though. You know, I get kind of a rush when I'm, like, doing all this stuff. And I call it planting seeds when I'm, you know, doing things and networking here and there, like now, and maybe it'll be quiet, but then all the stuff I did back then will flourish into, like, other gigs and other stuff that they'll be remembered. It'll be like, oh, okay, Shelley did this, let's call her back, or something like that. But there are times when I'm like, okay, what do I need to focus on more? What's getting me ahead more? what's progressing, what's flourishing, what do I enjoy the most? Because really, that's the point. If I'm not enjoying myself doing something, why am I there? I want to be fulfilled in life. I want to reach my goals. And if something's dead weight, there's no point. Even with money, it's like, that depends on a lot, because I have a single income now, and that's not, a new story to anybody, but it is, it was hard for a while, and now I'm getting, knock on wood or whatever, I'm in a comfortable spot right now, but I want to make sure that stays comfortable. So if I feel like something is taking up too much of my time and I'm not getting compensated, then I'm gonna have to drop it. With this kind of stuff though, like, it's so tenuous with whether or not you're gonna receive a paycheck at the end of something. So you get paid in experience, and that's another thing. Like, how much experience in this one thing do I really need? With modeling, it helps because not only do I get to meet people that could get me gigs for either modeling or some other thing if they know I'm an entertainer, but I get, headshots out of it too. Yeah. Which then helps me in the other fields. So there's that. And I've made a lot of great friends through modeling. I actually, like, the best experience I had modeling was I made it onto this calendar. It was a retro pinup calendar because it's my specialty. And the calendar people had a Facebook page and they posted the pictures, and they had this Air Force division holding up the calendars with their favorite girls. And I was on like 2 of them. It's like, I'm posing for the troops. It was awesome. It's like Marilyn Monroe.
You can eat her heart out.
I know. Nothing. So sometimes that's the thing too. It's like, if I'm gonna put something, and then another time during improv, there was a show where one of the guys who was friends with one of the people in the troupe, he proposed to his girlfriend during the show, and I was in that show. It was cool to be a part of it. So that's the thing. Like, sometimes too, you get paid with wow, this sounds really cheesy and corny. You get paid with memories. Oh. And it's a matter of what you're gonna be. It's just like little things in life you might be experiencing through diversifying yourself and being a part of all these different things. So, yes, sometimes it's spread thin. Yes, sometimes the money isn't very good, but I don't know. You get other compensation, but you can't wear yourself out either, or else you're not good for anybody. Yeah. So.
That's a good answer. Just doing what what is fulfilling and what you want to invest your time in, and kind of like constantly reevaluating exactly like what you're doing, even if it's working like 3 jobs. It's like, is it necessary? Like, do I really need to work 3 jobs? Like, which job am I best suited for? Or I want to stick with, or if this is a hobby but I really want this hobby, should I pursue it? I mean, it's just like those big questions. And a lot of times, like in the entertainment world, a lot of people are just multi-talented, and like you have actors, models, and singing, and so it seems that an entertainer has become such a catch-all. You have to be able to do everything, and that's I just find that amazing when people can do everything like you. You can pursue all those avenues and stick with it, and that's something to be admired, to really try to like achieve, your dreams. So that's really awesome. Now, having been, at a few of your improv shows with the Associated Mass, was there ever a time that you thought there was no way you would be able to run with like an audience suggestion, or you thought it'd be like it was kind of like too outlandish for you, like it's just not going to work out? Like,
I don't have like a specific event where I was like, wow, that's really weird. And you get to that point too where you do improv for long enough. Like, I've been doing improv for like a good 3 years now, and the stuff we hear the most of is sexual stuff. Yeah. Like, it's that's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because the audience wants to be funny, and they're unsure of their answers, and that's like the easiest thing. So sex stuff comes up a lot, and then you have to play that game of like, it's like, okay, just how censored is this show? 'Cause it depends on where you are too, and your demographics, and but that the thing is with that kind of stuff, you have to. It's a personal thing where you have to say, okay, where am I willing to stop? And there's some things where, like the game Moving People, for example.
Okay.
That's the one where you're standing up on stage and people are like moving you into different positions and having you do things. And I've seen a couple bad experiences with that, where audience members got kind of weird when they did it, and not to mention, like, most of the time they're just getting you to grope the other person and stuff. It's really nasty, and I try not to involve myself. And I have a boyfriend now, and I don't want him to have to like see that and have to deal with that kind of BS. Nor do I feel like going through that at all. So that's one thing too, where I'm not afraid to be like, look, I don't like this game. I'd rather you not cast me in this game when we play. Because I think, just as a performer, you have to have some level of integrity. I mean, you can't limit yourself too much, because this is a field where you can be literally asked to do almost anything. But you should still have to say no for certain things, I feel, because, you're still you. And if you can't look yourself in the face after doing something, well, then that just goes along with my philosophy of, if you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it? For example, with modeling, I won't do nudes. That is a non-negotiable thing. And regardless of if I'm seeing somebody or single, I don't feel comfortable with that. Because I feel, at the end of the day, my body is all I have left. Everybody can take everything else, my name, my face, my persona, my jokes, everything. But that's the only thing I got left, me. And at least let me keep that, Like, give me like one thing where I can be like, nah, that's alright. So, that kind of stuff is important to me. I mean, I'll curse like a sailor and strut around and do anything else on stage, but there's like some things where I'm just like, alright, are you really asking me to do that? You gotta say no.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear that there are people that are just, will put a limit on what they won't do, and just like not compromise themselves,
Exactly.
And at least, especially in this day and age with a lot of celebrityhood and celebrity land, they do so much, just to make more money than they already have, and they're willing to really sell everything about, and it's, I guess to a point, it's like, well, who are they? Who are they trying to become? And they're just more concerned about everyone else, except of being concerned of who they are themselves. So, let's see, next question. If there was a comedian, dead or alive, you could compare yourself to, who would it be and why?
I guess I'm kind of almost like a cross between Elvira and Maria Bamford, I want to say. Her style is for a woman comedian is quite, I feel it's quite different. She just like tells these stories and these weird experiences. She has like kind of a funny voice as she does it, and I don't know what it is about it. She's not what I think most people would consider the stereotypical like female comedian, like ex-husbands and period jokes. It's like even though I don't tell jokes about my ex-husband actually. I don't know. I'm not very bitter about everything, so I leave that out. I just comment on divorce in general. But regardless, And I'm like Elvira because like I just love her because she's kind of like the chick, you know, the goth chick, but she's just bubbly and funny, and you can't believe the stuff she's saying, and I'm kind of like that. You'll see me like strapped up in vinyl on stage, talking about like kittens. I guess I'd have to say those two. Like if I could meet them, that'd be awesome.
Gosh, Elvira, what was that movie? Elvira,
Mistress of the Dark.
I remember that.
Oh my god!
Oh my goodness, that was so 80s, right? That was 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I just remember her breasts. Yeah.
I've got quite a few of my own.
Yeah.
Under there.
Yeah.
In fact, funny little detour. When I first started performing with the troupe, the improv troupe I was in before the Associated Mess, the Flighty Ducks.
Oh, okay.
We used to perform at Diamonds in Bethlehem, which is the gay bar, or formerly gay bar. I don't know what its orientation is now. But we performed in the space there, and I guess I unintentionally had a lot of cleavage when I performed because my nickname at the bar became Boobs.
Oh. So
here I was, a Catholic schoolgirl in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I had a nickname at a game.
Oh wow.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
So proud.
I know, I got the biggest kick out of that.
What is your source of inspiration when writing a set?
Well, I mean, for as long as I can remember, I've been told to write what I know. And I've also most recently, when asking advice for comedy material, I've been told to just, if you write about an experience that directly happened to you, then you're not in trouble of possibly copying somebody else's set and stealing jokes. So I'll just write about like things that have happened to me that I thought were like really peculiar, and that I think back on and have a chuckle on, and it's like, maybe somebody else will think so too. And two, like I'll take stuff from conversations I've had with people about stuff that have made them laugh, and it's like, if they're laughing, maybe somebody else has a shot at laughing too.
Like, do you carry around a notebook?
I do.
Yeah.
Actually, when I first started comedy, I wrote a notebook because I'm a very visual person, so I have to see like a list of stuff, and so I would memorize those lists. But now, like, it's second nature to have a notebook and to just write down observations in it and to try to formulate them into jokes, and go to the open mic, see if they work, and if they do, to follow up with them and try to shape them into something big, and two, to remind myself of them. So yeah, and actually, to go along with what you're saying about what's in my set, it's also stuff that I just happened to, like, is just me. The one comedian friend of mine, Randy Tung, he actually said something really poignant the one time, and that was, I can't make people laugh if I don't know myself. And that kind of struck me. It's just like, he's right. If I didn't really know who I was and my quirks and what makes me me, I mean, no matter who you are, it's funny to somebody just in the sense that it's like, oh, look at that person. They're just doing their thing, and they know themselves. And I think that's something that people kind of are drawn to, and can be influenced by and entertained by, and because we're all like a little weird, and I think if we embrace that, that's what makes a good set. Like with me liking nerdy guys, or me and my experience being single, and so sometimes it's stuff that it's unique to you, and sometimes it's stuff that it happens to you, but you see it in a different way. even though everybody else has experienced the same thing.
And maybe they're just afraid to talk about it.
Yeah. Like maybe they've seen it the same way and they were like, oh, people would think I was so weird if I said this. But you're saying it for them.
Yeah. Now, do you have any upcoming gigs that you would like to have a moment and talk about?
Well, I'm at Outlet Unplugged on the 10th. And I don't have really any stand-up things that are going on with that. I might have a couple things in September coming up. The fall will be probably a lot busier than the summer. It usually is. Fall and spring are usually the sweeps, if you will, of entertaining. Not so much goes on in the winter and the summer, but at least not for me. But I'm with the Associated Mess, and we perform once a week, and it depends on the venue. Every other Tuesday we're at the Allentown Brew Works, and every other Thursday we're at Steel Stacks.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm not in every show with them, but I know I'll definitely be in the one on the 25th. So that's coming up. And then I'm always creeping around the open mics at Bethlehem Brew Works. So you'll find me somewhere in the Lehigh Valley. You just have to poke your head around.
And do you have any websites that people can, find you at?
The only website I have right now is my professional Facebook page, which is just Shelley Lee. And if you go via the Associated Mess, you might be able to find it. But other than that, it's Shelley Lee, located in Bethlehem, actress and comedian and model. And there's a picture of me with the mic, entertaining a throng of people as my cover photo. So.
It's very lovely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for stopping by and having given us a really informative interview. I didn't really get to talk to you at the open mic except a little bit, so it's nice just to get to know you more. So this was quite a pleasure.
Thanks. No, I appreciate you guys asking me out.
Yeah, definitely. Can we go study? Well, you can catch Shelley Lee as well as Tyler Rothrock, Ken Fowler, and Alfonso Zamora on August 10th at Hava Java. We start at 7 p.m. And if you want to know more about the Outlet Unplugged and any of our upcoming shows, you can look us up on Facebook at the Outlet Unplugged. Thank you.